I think you testified that that is a shockable rhythm per your protocols?
Yes, pulseless VTAC is a shockable rhythm per my protocols.
Okay. Now, you, what made you notice the change? Was there, in terms of the rhythm?
We periodically check in.
Okay. And when you noticed the change, was Mr. Floyd already on the Lucas device? The Lucas device was working on him, meaning giving compressions?
Lucas device was doing compressions at the time.
Okay. So initially he was in asystole, but then you, at some point, saw on the monitor that there was the possibility of pulseless electrical activity. Is that right?
Correct. We would pause Lucas, do a pulse check. It looked like a rhythm change of the pulseless VTAC. I elected to defibrillate that.
And was there any effect?
It just delivered a shock, and he remained in his quote-unquote dead state, and we continued on with the cardiac arrest.
And so, just to be clear, I mean, when someone is in the state that you're describing, are you looking for any opportunity to, administer a shock or provide additional treatment that you might be able to?
Yes, he's a human being, and I was trying to give him a second chance at life.
But ultimately, were you able to generate a pulse or any positive change from that shock that was administered?
Sorry, can you repeat that, please?
Did anything change after that shock? Did anything get better with Mr. Floyd?
No.
Now ultimately, when you arrived at the hospital, what did you do at that point?
When we got to the hospital, I provided a report to the stabroom staff of the information I had and the treatments rendered.
And what was Mr. Floyd's condition at the time you arrived at the hospital?
He was still deceased. We were working in cardiac arrest.
Grounds?
What's up, everybody? Today's date is April 1st, 2021. The time is now 12:03 p.m. here in Portland, Oregon. Today is the fourth day of the George Floyd trial, and we are continuing to listen to testimony. Let's go ahead and do that. We're going to be juicing ourselves some organic celery, some carrots, and some oranges. That's what we're going to do today. Also, got some kale in the back. Let's get the juice.
A couple more questions, Mr. Smith. At any point in time during your treatment and care of Mr. Floyd, were you ever able to resuscitate him successfully?
No.
Did he ever regain a pulse from the time that you arrived on scene to the time that you brought him to the hospital?
No, miss.
And did anything change in terms of your assessment of his condition and status?
No, when I showed up, he was deceased, and I dropped him off at the hospital, and he was still in cardiac arrest.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Mr. Nelson. You may.
Are we live? It says we're live, but I don't see a stream. Is it public? I see. It's private.
Thank you for being here. Just a few questions for you. Not very many at all, actually. This is going to sound a little odd, but is it common to feel for a pulse with using your thumb? If I was to feel for a pulse on someone's arm, should you use your thumb or should you use fingers? Is that because you have a pulse in your thumb? You testified that when you arrived on scene, you checked for Mr. Floyd's pulse initially when he first came. Yes, sir. And at that time, Officer Chauvin was, his knee was still on the back of his leg, right?
With the video show. He was still at the head of the patient, yes. I don't remember the exact location.
Of his knee was.
Correct. Going on.
Showing you what's been admitted as Exhibit 56. You were able to feel where his carotid artery was while Officer Chauvin's knee was in that place.
Yes, sir.
Testified that a police officer got in the back of the ambulance with you and began chest compressions in your direction.
Yes, sir.
As you were preparing to engage in resuscitative efforts. Right?
You were confirming what you heard you on over, is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. So officers in the back doing chest compressions, you're getting set up, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Why did just have the officer help you continue to go straight to the hospital?
That's not what we do.
Is it because he's not an EMT?
Any layperson can use chest compressions. There's no reason to have these chest compressions.
That's not my question. The question is, he's not an EMT, correct?
I don't know the level of situation of the individual that
You want a partner who can help you out, correct?
I want as many people that are willing to help me at that time to work this correct.
And that's my partner, right?
Correct.
And ultimately, the officer is kind of put out of the ring.
Alright guys, thanks for watching. I'm going to go ahead and settle this audio problem that we've been having. I started the video private, and so we missed the first part of it. I just wanted to say thanks again everybody for watching SOHi on Juice. Today is April 1st, 2021. We're listening to the fourth day of the George Floyd trial. We're listening to the fourth day of the George Floyd trial. And I just want to say thank you guys all so much for watching. Please stay positive, you guys. Let's keep going. I see Leslie here in the house. Thanks for watching. Fantastic. I'm glad. And thanks for the encouragement. I'm trying to do whatever I can to stay healthy. You guys keep, this is what we're doing today. So we've got some kale, oranges, celery, and some carrots. So that's going to be our juice for the morning. Let's go ahead and listen to this trial. Again, I'm going to deal with this audio problem now. Thanks guys for watching. So
If you could have a seat. Thank you. And before you begin, if you could, first of all, if you could pull the microphone up a little bit. It's not very flexible, but there we go.
Is that all right?
Perfect.
Good.
Would you start off by stating your name and spelling each of your names?
Jeremy Norton, JeremyNorton.
Ms. Aldridge.
Should I remove the mask?
Oh, I'm sorry. I should have asked you that.
Thank you very much.
Please, that's appreciated.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Where do you work?
I work for Minneapolis Fire Department. Currently, I'm assigned to Fire Station number 17.
And what's your title?
My title?
Yes.
I am a captain.
And how long have you been a captain with the Minneapolis Fire Department?
I promoted to captain in 2007. 2013 to 14 and 15, I was a battalion chief, and I demoted to captain in 2017.
And how long have you been with the fire department in total?
Since 2000, so 21 years.
Have you served in a variety of positions over that period of time?
I was a firefighter from 2000 until 2007, captain from 2007 until 2014, battalion chief 214 to 216, and captain again 216 until the present.
And what's your educational background? What did you do in terms of training to become a firefighter in the first instance?
When I started, I applied in 1998. The department, once one was hired, the department provided all of our training: EMT basic, hazmat, and then firefighter 1 and 2.
So maybe you could just describe a little bit what those things are.
It was 21 years ago.
When you say EMT
right.
basic 1 and 2, what does
Affirmative.
that mean?
We are given training to the EMT basic level. Now, to apply, one needs to already be an EMT. That required classroom training as well as hands-on training, and then passing the National Registry EMT test, and then becoming a licensed EMT. We can have continuing education to maintain our certification, and that is every 2 years we have to recertify, both for the state of Minnesota, and then we have the option to maintain a national certification level. The firefighting was coursework designed and delivered by the fire department, and that also included the hazmat training.
Okay. Hazmat training sounds interesting, but is it just one subspecialty of the trainings that you go through?
It is, yes, it is a subsection,
Okay.
essentially.
I'm going to circle back to the EMT part of it.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you is it a licensure? Are you a licensed EMT or a certified EMT through your job as a firefighter?
I believe it is a certification.
Okay. So are you currently certified as an EMT?
Yes, ma'am. It is one of the conditions of employment.
All right. And are you up to date on all of those certification requirements?
Yes, ma'am, to my knowledge.
And again, based on what you were describing for training for firefighters, is that part of the sort of standard training that all firefighters get? Meaning, are they all EMTs in Minneapolis?
In Minneapolis, yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I'm going to get back to your day-to-day as a captain with the Minneapolis Fire Department. What are your job duties?
To which level? I mean, simply put, I'm in charge of maintaining the care and treatment and training of my crew, our equipment, and our station, which is broad. But then within that, I'm in charge of ensuring that we uphold city rules, regulations, have appropriate interactions with the public, work well with other agencies, maintain our training. I'm in charge of all documentation and records. And then on all of our calls, I'm in charge of the overall safety and well-being of our crew and ensuring that we act appropriately.
So, fair to say you're in a leadership position?
That would be affirmative.
And do you still despite being, I guess, a supervisor or in leadership, do you still respond to calls as well?
Yes, ma'am. And as a crew, we work together.
Okay. And that's still part of your day-to-day, responding to calls?
Yes.
What portion of your work as a Minneapolis Fire Department employee is medical in nature? Do you respond to a lot of medical calls? Does fire respond to a lot of medical calls?
The number that I've seen for the department and then for nationally would be about 80% of our work is medical in nature.
So, any of us who assume that firefighters just fight fires, is that not the case?
No, you've been watching the wrong shows.
But you said 80% medical.
That is what statistics show, yes, ma'am.
So the vast majority of your job is responding to medical calls as opposed to fighting fires.
That is correct.
What types of medical calls do you respond to? Could you give some examples of the types of things you do?
Certainly. The simplest way would be anything from birth through post-death that anyone calls 911 about. We will respond with, either in concert with or ahead of, or to support the paramedics.
So is it common for you to work with them in your job?
Absolutely.
And why is that?
Why do we work with them?
Yeah, why is there this, what's the need to work together?
The paramedics are higher trained. They have higher level of standard of care. They have more skills they possess. Their schooling is longer. But the idea would be an emergency medical response that if something is a life or death issue, having an EMT arrive with equipment, an AED, an oxygen mask, any of our other tools, we can provide care for someone who is in critical condition until the paramedics arrive, and then they can take over to a higher level, and we support them.
And I think you just used the term AED. Can you just describe what that is?
It is what would be called a heart starter, the automatic. I'm going to botch the letters right now, so I'll just say it is the heart start. It is what is used when someone is in cardiac arrest.
And are you, as an employee of the fire department, do you carry that type of equipment, or are you able to assist with that type of thing?
Yes, ma'am, both. We do carry it on our rigs. It is part of our standard complement, and I can use anyone I'd find in this building.
Okay. I'm going to direct your attention to May 25th of last year.
Yes, ma'am.
Were you on duty as a captain with the Minneapolis Fire Department on that date?
I was.
And did you respond to a call that evening?
Could you say that again?
Did you respond to a call that evening?
We responded to several, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And specifically with respect to the area of Cup Foods, was there a call that you initially responded to that location for?
Yes, ma'am.
So maybe you could, if you could, please just describe what was the nature of the call that you were initially responding to?
We were dispatched initially code 2, which is a non-emergency response at, I believe, 8:30 p.m., give or take a couple seconds. And we were given very little information. I believe it said
come into your fire department for your station?
the majority of calls will come in through central dispatch. So they control how the station will open up, meaning the radio and the lights will come on, and then there are signifying tones that indicate generally the nature of the call, and then on top of that, the dispatch will provide whatever information they have as to the nature of the call.
So with respect to the evening of May 25th, you said around 8:30, were you in the station at that time?
Yes, ma'am, we were inside.
And did you hear some particular tone that alerted you to this code 2?
Yes, it's the standard, the lights come on, the speakers click on with an audible click, and then there's two short tones, kind of staccato, and then followed by the dispatch announcing where we were going.
And does that come over your speaker system?
Yes, ma'am.
So it was at that time you were aware that it was a code 2 and the location where you were going, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you proceed to that location?
We did.
Did you get any other information about the call, either en route or at some other time?
Yes, ma'am.
And
Sure.
go ahead, what was that?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. I'm just trying to figure out what's audio.
Dispatch came over the radio. At this point, it's our rig radio, and stated engine 17, code 3, which is red lights and sirens, emergency response.
So when you heard code 3, does that mean the call was elevated at that point? Meaning code 3 is more serious than code 2?
Affirmative.
Did you have any other information about that or the reason for that?
I believe the only information that we had on our screen initially was code 2 for one with mouth injury, I believe.
Okay.
And then it was updated.
And then when you say updated, was it just then a code 3
Affirmative.
without any supplemental information as to why?
No, ma'am, I don't believe so.
Okay. So ultimately, did you respond to the area of Cup Foods or 30th in Chicago?
Yes.
And what did you do when you arrived there?
The rig stopped. My partner and I got off the rig, and we looked around for a patient.
And when you got there, what did you see?
There were several police squads, one Park Police, I believe, and two or three Minneapolis police cars that I remember parked in the vicinity in the area. A couple officers were standing on the street, and a handful of people were outside.
Was there an ambulance there at the time that you were there?
No, ma'am.
And were you able to identify a patient upon arrival?
No, ma'am, there was no one on the street.
So what did you do next?
I basically went clockwise around our rig. I spoke briefly with one police officer, and then we went into the store.
And did you come into contact with anybody in the store?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the nature of that? What happened in the store?
Could you be more specific, please?
Sure. Well, upon entering the store, did you interact with anybody who was in the area, who had been in the area?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. We spoke, as I said, I spoke to one police officer as I descended the rig, came around through a crowd of maybe 6 or 7 people who were at the mouth of the store and in the kind of the vestibule or entryway, and then I went into the store still looking for a patient.
Okay. So you went into the store looking for a patient. Did you have any interaction with anybody? You said there were a number of people, 6 or 7 people. Did you have an interaction with any of those people?
Ma'am, do you mean did I speak with any? I'm not sure what you mean by interaction.
Yes. Did you have a conversation with any of those people?
As I was walking through, I heard what people were saying, and then, but I was pretty much looking for a patient. I might have spoken to someone who was working there briefly, and while I was looking around for a patient, essentially on the ground, I did encounter an off-duty firefighter, and then I briefly spoke with one of the police officers who was at the back of the store.
Okay, so let's just talk about those two things. So you interacted both with an off-duty firefighter and also a law enforcement officer who was present, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So let's first start with your objective. You said you were looking on the floor for a patient. Was it your primary goal to find a patient?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you were not able to see one easily and entered into the store, what did you do at that point? Was that when you you talk to the law enforcement officer?
I made my way back toward the back of the store looking for a patient, or the call was confusing because we did not have a lot of information. So I did not have a patient description. I did not have anything else, and so I was essentially, yes, looking on the floor for someone. And at that point, though, the crowd that through which I'd walked was people were upset, and I was getting the sense from them that there was an injured person, and that's all. So I was looking for someone on the ground.
Okay. Did you find an injured person on the ground?
No, ma'am.
So what did you do next?
My partner mostly stayed and spoke with the off-duty firefighter, who was agitated to distraught. I'm not somewhere between there. She was fairly upset, and as my job as supervisor is to kind of cut through a lot of the extraneous information and find what we actually need to deal with. And so I moved to the back, and I did see the police officer at the back of the store, which would have been the southeast corner of the building, talking to one of the employees behind the barricade, and then I approached him.
Okay. And then were you directed to another location?
Right as I was asking him what was going on, he said, I believe he said the medics left, they need you. And right about simultaneously over his radio and over ours, because we have separate dispatchers, we both had the information that the paramedics needed us at a different location.
Okay. And then you also mentioned an off-duty firefighter. Do you know who that off-duty firefighter was?
Do I know who she is now?
Her name, yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Genevieve Hansen.
At the time, did you have limited interaction with her?
I had worked. I'm sorry, if you're asking prior to that day.
Right. When you arrived on scene, did you immediately recognize her as somebody that you knew?
No, ma'am. I think I walked right past her, and then she popped up to my left once we were inside the store.
Okay. And then after the fact, do you now know that that was an individual that you know to work with as Genevieve Hansen?
Prior to that, once we started speaking, I did a double take, and I clocked that I knew her.
Okay.
And then we spoke.
And what information did you have at that point in terms of what was happening and what was going on?
The police officer said that the medics had left and they needed us, code 3. Dispatch said the same thing, and then from the off-duty firefighter and from the crowd, I was hearing and inferring that there was an injured man who had been sustained injuries in a scuffle with the police, or in a situation with the police.
Okay. I'm going to put up on the screen what's already been admitted as Exhibit 68. Can we put that up, please? Oh, here we go. All right, so you described your arrival. Could you just describe what's shown in Exhibit 68, please?
Yes, ma'am. That is our fire truck, engine 17. That is me stepping out from the captain's side. We are facing eastbound on 38th Street. Cup Foods is behind us. There is a squad to my forward and right from this photo to my left. And I believe that was the police officer I spoke to, whose body camera that was. So I was about to make contact with him.
So does this show you upon your initial arrival at the scene?
Yes, ma'am.
And if we could move to Exhibit 69, please. Did someone come off? So Exhibit 69 is now on the screen. If you could just describe who is pictured in this photo.
That is me to the right of the screen, and that is firefighter Jennifer Hall to the left, coming around from her side of the rig. She was a rookie who started with us at the end of March.
And so were you both responding together, essentially?
Yes, ma'am. She was my partner.
Okay. Can we move to Exhibit 70, please? You described walking into the store and seeing some other individuals. Could you just describe what's shown in Exhibit 70, please?
Yes, ma'am. There's looks like a police squad ahead to my left, north on the street. I believe that is a might be a park police squad to my left. 4 people outside, one of whom is off-duty firefighter Hansen. I did not recognize her walking through.
Do you recognize her now?
Affirmative.
Could you just, you can use the stylus or your finger, but it's a touchscreen. If you could just indicate where she is, please, in this photo. All right, you made a green mark above where, indicating Genevieve Hansen is. Can you just indicate where you are in this photo as well? All right, and there's an arrow showing where you've just made that mark. And then, could you identify Jennifer Hall as well, please? All right, did you know any of the other individuals in this?
In this photo, no, ma'am.
And if we could move to
It's literally me trying and doing the best I. It's me trying to take control of my life, Leslie. So thank you. I very much appreciate that. It's
you ultimately entered the store.
me acknowledging, me aware of certain health issues, and just trying to do the best I can before I give up. You know, I can't just give up. You know,
What is
I can't just give up. You know. What I'm saying is, I can't just give up. I got all this microphone in the background meeting, but thank you. I deal with depression, and you know, before I was to do anything, like act, like, you know, take my life or something, I've got to at least try to make some changes that I believe are going to help. And eating healthy and good food is that. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. Again, I'm doing whatever I can to stay healthy and really trying to take control.
We're directed to meet the medics.
It wouldn't be right for me to just give up on it all without trying something. So this is what I'm trying. These are my antidepressant. This is my antidepressant.
And what did you see when you got there?
The Hennepin County Medical Center ambulance was parked on the east side of the street, just south of 36.
And I'm going to put up Exhibit 74, which has already been admitted. Ultimately, can you just describe what point of view this is showing in Exhibit 74?
Yes, ma'am. That is not me, but this would be the view from my seat.
And so, in the foreground, is that the fire truck that you were in?
I'm sorry. Yes, this photo is taken from the front seat of the fire truck, facing the ambulance.
And is that where your fire rig parked once you arrived at that location to meet up with the ambulance?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you do once you arrived at that location?
Again, my partner, firefighter Hall, and I got out of the fire truck and we went into the ambulance, entering from the side door.
And what did you observe at that point in time?
2 paramedics and 1 police officer and a patient on the stretcher.
What appeared to be the condition of the patient that you observed?
He was face up on the stretcher. He had an airway an advanced airway, so he had a breathing tube going into his throat, and he had the Lucas compression device, which is a CPR, kind of a pneumatic CPR device, in place and working.
And when you say working, what does that mean?
It was pumping up and down to pump his chest, pump his heart.
Okay. And first of all, this patient, was he later identified by name?
Yes, ma'am. It's George Floyd.
So you said that he had an airway in place and the Lucas machine was pumping. What did you observe about his overall condition?
I mean, other than that, he was unresponsive.
Right. Maybe not other than that, but what do you mean by unresponsive? What did you see?
A person who is not, who basically who's, I'm sorry, it's a confusing question. I'm sorry.
Not a good question. I apologize. Just tell.
He was an unresponsive body on a cot. The airway was in place so that we could breathe for him, or so the responders could, or people could breathe for him, and the Lucas device was compressing his heart to get blood going through his body.
And when you say breathe for him, what does that mean?
I was not clear about that. And an airway device goes in through the throat, gets and basically gets better access into the lungs for some sort of airway and oxygen delivery device. In our case, would be a bag valve mask, a BVM, which is like a Nerf football sized compressible bag that we squeeze every 6 seconds to bring air into their lungs, and it's oxygenated air.
So when you say breathe for him, does that imply using that BVM and actually squeezing it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry, to your question, in the absence of those actions, the patient would have been pulseless and unresponsive, not breathing, and for all intents and purposes, dead.
Okay, and were you aware of the status with respect to any pulse that, was the patient pulseless when you arrived?
We did not check a pulse until we took over, they were working, we joined them. As part of their protocols, we did pulse checks multiple times from when we arrived until we arrived at the stab room at HCMC.
Did anyone ever find a pulse?
No, ma'am.
And when you first, just getting back to when you first got on this ambulance, you said you saw 2 paramedics. Was there a law enforcement officer who was also in the back of the ambulance?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you arrived, did you essentially switch places? Did he exit the ambulance?
Yes, ma'am. He was, I believe, on the bench seat. I cleared him out, took the seat at the head, and took over ventilations for the patient.
And when you say ventilations, are you talking about that BVM?
Yes, ma'am.
So were you squeezing it for
Yes, ma'am.
the process to work?
Yes.
Okay. After the officer left the ambulance and you were working on squeezing the BVM, what happened next? Did you proceed to the hospital with the paramedics?
I'm sorry, those are 2 questions.
Okay, let's start with the first one. And maybe I can just rephrase it better. What did you do after you took over the squeezing of the BVM?
I myself continued that until we were cleared at the stab room at Hennepin County Emergency.
Okay, so did you continue to do that, perform that act, all the way until you got to the hospital?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you do once you arrived at the hospital with the patient, Mr. Floyd?
We continued from the ambulance into the stab room, which is their critical care room. I believe there were 2 other cases, patients already in there, so the room was a little hectic. They were still assembling their staff, so I continued at his head, breathing for him for a short amount of time until their team took over and cleared us.
And once you were cleared, and what does that mean, cleared?
Well, it's a hospital. They have a lot of people who can do our job, so they basically kick us out so they can take over the more comprehensive care.
What did you do at that point, once you were cleared?
How do you mean?
Did you ultimately need a ride?
We left the hospital, and I oftentimes when we accompanied the medics down to the hospital on critical cases, our fire truck is not allowed to drive through lights just to follow us. Like, we'll be okay with the medics, and so they will respond, and depending on how far away it is, we can stand out on the street for several minutes. And additionally, I had radioed to my driver to go back to the scene at 38th in Chicago to check on the off-duty firefighter.
And why did you do that? Why did you have the other members of your team check on the off-duty firefighter?
Ma'am, well, once, as I said, we came in with very little information, and even when I spoke with her on the scene, I had no understanding of the cause of her distress. So once we got in the ambulance and I saw the severity of Mr. Floyd's condition, and the gravity, I understood. I was able to infer or put together what she had been talking about, and I understood the justification of her duress, and so I sent my crew back to check on her to make sure she was okay.
So once you put those pieces together and understood Mr. Floyd's condition, were there additional actions that you took after leaving the hospital?
Yes, ma'am. Once the fire truck came to pick us up, we kind of had a brief, kind of a debrief in the rig, talking, because we had my partner and I had a very different experience from my driver and the other firefighter, because especially during COVID, we were either going in one at a time, or because I had a rookie, I was trying to give her experience. So my senior firefighter and my driver remained on the rig for most calls from the end of March through midsummer. In this case, while my partner Jennifer Hall and I entered the rig and encountered someone who was not responsive, and it's just that way, the police officer.
Ask another question.
Oh, sorry.
Just one moment. Let's just back up for 1 second. You said that you and your partner Jennifer Hall
Yes.
were working together, and you got on the ambulance. What were the other members of your crew doing, and who were they?
Yes, ma'am. I apologize for that. Stephen Mudek is a rank firefighter, and Tracy Trebell is my driver, or fire motor operator.
So were all four of you together on May 25th
Yes,
of
ma'am.
last year? And I'm sorry, I just had to finish the question first so she can take it all down. But all four of you, you said, were together on May 25th responding to this call. Is that right?
Yes.
And who was it that you sent to go talk to the off-duty firefighter Genevieve Hansen?
I had FMO Trebell and firefighter Mudek take the rig back to the scene.
And when you say the scene, is that Cup Foods?
Yes, ma'am.
And where were you while that was going on?
We were in the ambulance at 36th and Park, and then we were en route to the hospital, and then they met us at the hospital.
And when you say they, ultimately did Tracy Trebell and Stephen Mudek from your team meet you at the hospital?
Yes, ma'am.
And then you said that the four of you had a debrief, is that right?
Briefly, yes.
What did you do after that?
Sidebar, please.
I'm glad I can help out in any way. I'm glad I can help out. I mean, I'm trying to do whatever I can to be positive. I mean, honestly, I feel like I've been so negative lately. Sorry you've been feeling down. Wish I could offer you some juice or something maybe.
Captain Norton, did you ultimately report this incident that you saw and what observed internally to the fire department?
Yes, ma'am.
And why was that?
Twofold. I was aware that a man had been killed in police custody, and I wanted to notify my supervisors to notify the appropriate people above us in the city, both the fire department and whomever else. And then I also wanted to inform my deputy that there was an off-duty firefighter who was a witness of the scene.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Mr. Nelson.
Good afternoon, Captain Norton.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for being here. Just want to clarify a couple things on the time frame.
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to show you what's already been admitted as Exhibit 151. You're familiar with the computer-aided dispatch or incident detail reports?
Yes, sir.
This is Exhibit 151 is the computer-aided dispatch report from this incident. This initial call for EMS code 2 occurred at 8:20 and 11 seconds, according to this. Agreed?
That's what it says.
And that was upgraded, this incident was upgraded at 8:28, correct? To code 3?
Well, sir, it says something different above.
So multi-agency police? You're talking about that?
No, sir.
Pardon?
No, sir.
So you've got 330 EMS code 3 at 8:21:35.
Yes, sir.
All right. And then you have some info for EMS at 8:27:21,
That is correct.
and that is that they had someone had a male restrained on the ground, correct?
Yes, sir. It says PDF male restrained.
Fire was E412, which is the emergency ambulance, added fire at 8:28. Agreed?
That's what it says.
EMS alerted everyone that they were at 36th and Park at 8:31 and 12 seconds.
Yes, sir. That's what it says.
Then there's this Metcom call at 8:33 where EMS is asking for a fire department for patient condition, right?
Yes, sir.
Down here at 8:35 and 13 seconds, it says Minneapolis Fire Department en route to Park and 36th.
That's correct.
And you were 2 minutes out at 8:36 and 7 seconds.
That's what I reported, yes.
And so you arrived at about 8:38, correct?
I'm not sure what time we arrived.
Thereabouts, but within about 2 minutes of your call.
I believe so, yes. I believe it was 8:37, but yes.
Okay. So the original call for EMS code 2 was 17 minutes prior to when you got to the ambulance.
Could you clarify, please?
The original call, EMS code 2 for mouth injury at 8:20.
That is not for us.
Understood. But it's 17 minutes after the original call went out, correct?
That looks appropriate, yes.
You were called, or fire, I should say, was called at 8:28 and 36 seconds.
That was somebody's radio transmission, yes, sir.
And the fire incident was created 7 seconds later at 8:28 and 43 seconds.
Thanks,
The
Leslie.
fire was notified at 8:20.
Have a good day, Leslie. Good afternoon. Thanks so much. I can't believe I just took a bite of this ginger root. First time I've ever eaten ginger root by itself raw. This is absolutely disgusting. I have a friend who carries some ginger root in his pocket with him. Takes them out with him throughout the day. Takes little bites of it. Yo, I took a little bite of it, chewed through it. The bark is disgusting and unpalatable, or it's not unpalatable, but you can't really swallow it. Very fibrous. The juice, though, the ginger definitely just explodes with spice. It's like very spicy. It just explodes with spice and hot, all in your mouth. And while you're trying to keep that in your mouth, you can't. You gotta like swallow it quick, but you're trying not to swallow the bark, and it just. I cannot, for the life of me. I just cannot understand how LAB Spot eats this stuff or ate that, or the garlic or any of that stuff. Which, by the way, I'm going to do some garlic juice. Garlic juice next week when we get the stamps in. But when we get the food in, we'll go ahead and grab some garlic and we'll do that. But I just got done eating for the first time ever this, so I hope you enjoyed that too. This juice right here is absolutely fantastic, wonderful tasting, very fresh, very smooth, very hydrating. it really is just without, you can't, with like depression is something you can't control, and drinking this vitamin-rich juice, like, and the way it makes you feel, you can't control that either. It's just a positive thing, and so it's why I juice. It's why I'm still here. It's why I haven't killed myself yet. I mean, if I was eating shitty food and all the rest of it and dealing with all the stress like I had without any idea on how to reduce stress, I probably would have already fucking taken my life. And this place is pretty screwed up. Unless you work really hard, unless you fight hard to preserve yourself, your sanity, it's just so easy just to give up, or at least it is for me. And maybe that's just a mental health issue that I have. Maybe I'm bipolar. Maybe I'm depressed. Maybe I'm experiencing PTSD. Maybe it's legal stress syndrome, abuse syndrome, LAS. But I appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate you watching, Leslie, especially. Thank you so much for all the support in the past as well. I'm glad that you got some time, that you're getting some time off work for yourself. And I will, I don't like. I went to go see a friend, and there was a McDonald's in the area, and I just broke. It was just there, and so I will do the best that I can not to eat McDonald's again. It's I know it's absolute garbage, but I don't feel as bad as I would have in the past because I am juicing each day. So I feel like I'm building up some kind of immune system to the trash, but. I appreciate it, Leslie. Thanks for watching, and the well wishes, the care. I appreciate you very much. Thank you. And yeah, this is really good juice. So you got my contact information. Guys, I'll talk to you later. Thanks so much for watching. Shout out Hightower on SOHi on Juice, you guys. 100% USA FTP. 100% for the people, you guys. Be like water, packed with micronutrients. And this is content that helps us take control of our lives. Take back control of our lives. So yeah, let's start with the food. Start where our feet are planted. The next step, taking forward, we got to think, how are we going to get our food? Where are we going to get our water? The next step after that, let's try to get as close as we can. Community, build up a community, build up immunity in that community, and all those different kind of cool talking points and trade points and stuff. But anyway, you guys, thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next stream, possibly tomorrow. Matter of fact, I think. Though I'm not sure what we will be drinking tomorrow. Because I think I've just got done juicing up all of the, I juiced everything in the fridge except for this. And I have this right here, this pineapple. I got this big giant pineapple here. I'm saving this for a friend of mine, a neighbor of mine. Maybe we'll do it live and I'll introduce you to him. But my neighbor is experiencing diabetes, high blood pressure, really bad health. He's been seeing a surgeon. He just had an abscess underneath his armpit removed. Now he's got a large, deep hole, gaping hole. It's absolutely disgusting. Gaping hole in his armpit. He's got all of these skin conditions and problems. And we were talking about healthcare, and it blew me away when he told me about his. It blew me away when he told me about his surgeon, his doctor, just prescribing medication and not suggesting a change in his diet. And so, with the different videos that I watch, I'm watching this guy named John Collier, and I watch all of his adventures throughout the United States. And while he goes around highlighting different farms and whatnot, and all the different people that have gotten into juicing, and how how they've changed their lives completely. How they've gone from having high blood pressure, how they've gone from having cancer, even had completely cancer, completely reversed. So we were talking, and I'd mentioned I've been juicing, and I said, dude, I'll start making you some juices once I get my my stimulus check. I hope to get some microgreens growing back in that back room, and I've been watching the cycle and how to do it, so I could have at least 16 to 32 ounces of juice, of wheatgrass juice every day, and between 4 and 8 ounces, maybe 12 ounces of broccoli sprouts juice every day. So I've got this cycle, and I'm like, dude, just come on over, and I will juice for you. We're going to make you healthy. So this was a couple days ago, and he was, he's very much, yeah, dude, that sounds great. That sounds great. But it's tough to start new things and behavior choices, and changing up your routine. So I reached out to him a couple times over the last couple days, reminding him, sent him some videos, and he didn't respond. I did see him in the driveway not too long ago, and he was like, oh yeah, I'll come by. He hasn't come by, so I'm gonna really push him next time I see him. Tell him, hey bro, I got this fucking pineapple. You're coming upstairs. We're gonna juice this. So that's what that pineapple's for. That also, I guess, can segue into how great it felt talking to this guy, and how great it felt knowing that I had this experience, that I had this personal experience that that could change this man's life, and just how motivating that was for me, because I really like helping other people. I'm terrible at helping myself, but I'm great at helping other people, and so that was super encouraging, and something that I could see doing in the future, going out and just starting with my own community, starting with my own neighborhood, just my own neighbors. He's never, we were talking about juice, and he had mentioned that he loves juice. That's one of the things he's trying to quit drinking, and he's trying to bring in juice into his diet. And he had some pineapple juice that he had bought, like one of the high pasteurized, flash past, one of those highly heat processed juices that you get from the store, with more sugar than nutritional value in it. And he showed it to me. He had it in his bag. I was like, dude, that's awesome, man. They've got pineapples right now at Winco for $2.50. And he was like, oh, wow, this juice was like, I got this juice for like, this was like $1.59 or something. I was like, no, man, you get the whole pineapple. And the concept of buying a pineapple and juicing it is so foreign to him. He's never done that before. And brother, my neighbor, he's like 30, he's my age, he's close to 40. And he's never, ever cut open a pineapple and actually tasted what fresh pineapple juice tastes like. So that's what that pineapple's in there for. It's to share with one of my neighbors an experience that he's going to remember for life. This juice right here, going from store-bought juice to natural fresh whole pressed juice, is like driving it's like going from freaking a Honda to like a Lamborghini. I mean, it's like going from very like mid-range. I mean, it's not the worst food in the world, but you're literally going from not the worst food in the world to the best food in the world. And so hopefully once he experiences this pineapple, and he understands like this benefit of how it's flavor, how juice is good, tastes good, and can help help you mentally and physically. I think hopefully he's going to get into it. So that's the goal. Just trying to get the people around me healthy, and that's it. So we got mango. You're buying? We got mango. Okay. We got I got no mango. Pineapple mango. Is that what you were suggesting? Pineapple mango. So really good. Really good. Also, once we get the stimulus check, we're going to get some tools that allow us to preserve the juice for longer. So I could do some bulk juicing. I want to be able to juice gallons and preserve it. That's why I do what I do. People do it. Yeah, I would make a great caregiver. I would make a great, I'm just a great people person. I'm a great friend. That's great. And it's unfortunate because in today's world, people are trying to get away from, people are more worried about business or making money, and have no idea, have no clue or understanding how to be friends. Everybody is all trying to clout chase, or not everybody, but most of the people in my circles in social media, or you go out there with a camera and you're at these political events and whatnot. Everybody's in it for power, or political power, or clout chasing. I'm literally in it for the people, 100%. I can't stress that anymore. After reading Daniel Quinn's Ishmael in 1999, it was either 1999 or 2000, and yeah, it was 2000 during the Al Gore campaign. When I read that book, my philosophy literally changed, and I can agree with I can't agree more with the person who wrote the book review. From now on, there's two categories of books that I shall read: those before Ishmael and those after Ishmael. And it's really for those who have an earnest desire to save the world. And the only reason I guess I would ever end up taking my life was because I would kind of see the world as all here in my head, and it's something to readjust, reset. But it talks about man taking life into his own hands compared to man living life within the hands of the gods. It's a very interesting concept, but I've literally worked in politics. I literally worked in politics for decades, and there was a time where speaking with with the president, vice president, I've told the story before. They literally at the exact same time responded to one of my questions by saying, "Eli, politics is about this isn't." They said, "Eli, politics is not about saving the world. Politics is about making money." And my inability to connect on that level leaves me seeming to be somewhat immature, or lacking some kind of adult maturity or something. Why can't Eli just figure it out and compartmentalize all his emotions and feelings and his beliefs and just fucking get money, just make money, and the reason why I can't do that is because of Ishmael. I can't do that. I can't give up on that idea. Once you're presented with truth, you can't live a lie. You refuse to live a lie. So I appreciate you, Leslie. Thank you so much for all the support. And anybody else, too, who's going to gain any kind of benefit from this. I'm not only just doing this for you, though. I am doing this for me, too, like I was saying earlier. I've got to do something. You've got to do something. And you've got to do something with whatever knowledge you have. And I'm just fortunate enough to have the knowledge that that we're living a lie, and that there's more for us out there. And so, I'm just fortunate enough to know that, to have been presented with that information. A lot of people don't have that information, and so I juice, you guys. Thanks for watching. I'm going to go ahead and end this now. I'll catch up with you guys later. The time is now 1:06 p.m. and the date is still April 1st, 2021. The main channel will be public again on April 28th. So we've got about 28 days to go until those community strikes are over. But once they are, we're going to go ahead and download all of the videos, and I don't know, we might move on from that channel and start another one. But in regards to video, I'm still going to be very much interested in that, and I've got like 15 terabytes of video data that goes back years. So I don't know if now that people are gearing up for 2024 or 2028 or whatever next upcoming elections are going to be big. Maybe now people will have the time to sit back, and maybe somebody out there will want to take the time to sit back and understand how Portland got to be what it is, and how it has influenced the nation. But anyway, thanks guys. We'll talk to you later. Exactly, Leslie. Exactly. Talk to you guys. Peace.